The Supreme Court of Canada has ruled it will not hear a last-ditch appeal from a BC ostrich farm to save the birds. Universal Ostrich Farms had already lost legal challenges in federal court and the Federal Court of Appeal. It's now been 10 months since the Canadian Food Inspection Agency ordered that cull amid an avian flu outbreak. The Supreme Court delayed the cull in September while it considered whether to hear the case. Well, now it's decided not to, so there is no legal barrier against the killing of more than 300 ostriches. CTV's Scott Hurst has been looking at the details. Scott, what are you learning about the Supreme Court's decision? We'll talk about that, and then we'll talk about what's next for the birds.
So, Marcia, officially the motion for the stay is dismissed. That is the word that came down from the Supreme Court just a few minutes ago, as many people across the country had been waiting to find out whether or not the Supreme Court would hear this case. And so it appeared that a cull that was ordered by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency was imminent back in September. But at that date, the Supreme Court issued a stay, a halt on the potential culling of the birds until it could decide whether to hear the farm's case. And so that decision was going to be made today. And then, as we heard just a short time ago from the Supreme Court of Canada, is that the motion for a stay is dismissed. And so that means there are no legal barriers when it comes to the possibility of the CFIA beginning the cull and killing the hundreds of birds, as this farm in the southeastern part of BC had been fighting for the better part of 10 months to save this beloved flock, saying they don't deserve to die. All owners, as the owners have been opposing the cull from the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. Marcia, over that time, we've seen also a groundswell of supporters heading to the farm, standing behind the fight, not just there at the property, but also south of the border as well. Some high-profile support from south of the border. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as well, U.S. Health Secretary, even writing a letter to the CFIA in support of the farm, arguing the birds should be spared and that could be incredibly useful to be able to study them, as the CFIA had ordered the cull late last year, back in December, after a case of avian flu. And so it's been a better part of 10 months. The farm, has been fighting this case, coming down to this Supreme Court decision that it will not move ahead. It will not be hearing this case, Marcia.
Yeah, even Dr. Oz, he injected himself in this. He wanted to stop the planned cull. He said that he believed that they may have developed an immunity. So, Scott, the big question is, what has happened next? We should also mention we haven't heard yet any reaction, I don't believe, to the owners of the farm. But what are the next steps in this? Everybody's going to be wondering what's going to happen to these ostriches.
Yeah, lots of questions right now, as the Supreme Court has decided not to go ahead with this case. Well, as we had been saying, nothing is standing in the way of the CFIA from beginning the cull and then killing the hundreds of ostriches. And so the CFIA has been in custody of these birds since September, and they've been in the care of the CFIA despite ongoing opposition from the owners and supporters and accusations from the supporting group and the owners that over that time the CFIA had been mistreating the birds. And so all eyes now on the farm, on the property. RCMP had been there as well, keeping a close eye, and so we'll have to wait and see what is next, specifically in terms of timing for the CFIA, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. If there are no legal impediments to now beginning this cull, how quickly would they begin at the farm? And so that is kind of the next question in terms of what happens next. But now that the Supreme Court of Canada has decided it will not hear the case, the CFIA appears that it won't have any legal standing in the way from beginning this cull, which it had ordered last December, Marcia.
Scott Hurst with the very latest on the Supreme Court making a decision a short time ago that they will not hear the BC ostrich case, so there is no legal barrier for the culling of those birds. Thank you so much, Scott.